You know, if you ask a strategist what time is it, he'll probably tell you it's time for the Pacific century. Now, that's exactly the kind of long-term thinking that informs the investment strategy of legendary investor Jim Rogers. He's investing not just for himself, but for his kids.
Well, first, I wouldn't call it the Pacific century. I'd call it the Asian century specifically. If you look at the creditor nations in the world, they're all in Asia now. China, Japan, Korea, Taiwan, Singapore, Hong Kong. The money is in Asia now. And throughout history, we rarely do you see people say, you see those debtors over there? Let's go to where the debtors are. They always say, let's go here where the money is. As far as what to do to take advantage of all of this, well, there's a lot of turmoil, but the best way to preserve wealth is to make money. You can sit and be defensive, but if you go into cash, you might go into the wrong kind of cash. I mean, if you went into Icelandic krona 3 years ago, and a lot of people did because the yields were so high, well, they essentially been wiped out because the currency collapsed. And many currencies have collapsed. So trying to make money and doing it successfully is the best way to preserve your wealth.
Would there not be more opportunity where it's most severe, that is, in the West as opposed to out here in Asia?
Well, there's always great opportunity everywhere. In the 1930s, during the Great Depression, there were people in America, in Europe, who made great fortunes and who laid the foundation for great fortunes. Yes, there are always opportunities. You know, the Chinese word for crisis also has the symbol opportunity with it as well, and that is obviously correct, and it's correct now. I'm sure that in 30 years we're going to look back and there are going to be some people in America who made great fortunes from this period, and others in the UK. But if you're looking to be where the wind is at your back, the wind is at your back in Asia, as far as I'm concerned. And you know, we moved here. I want my little girls to grow up understanding Asia and speaking Mandarin. I think the best skill that I can give people born in 2003 and 2008 is to be fluent in Mandarin and to know Asia.
In fact, you said that that's probably one of your single best investments, that is your daughters and teaching them, getting them to learn Mandarin.
Well, I know it's the best investment I can make in my lifetime now. You know, for my future, my future is their future, and obviously I want them to grow up speaking Mandarin. It will not make them successful, I assure you. There are a lot of people in the world who speak Mandarin who are unsuccessful, but at least it will give them a skill which will be extremely useful in their lifetime.
Two big themes keep on recurring for you. One is your bullishness on China, and two is agricultural commodities in terms of farmland. China seems to be picking up on that. We're hearing that even municipal governments now are looking at investing in farmland outside of China, elsewhere. So it seems to validate what you've been saying. At the same time, though, there's sort of a bigger element to this, and that is China, the rate it's growing at, it's making a lot of people scared, a lot of people defensive, a lot of people protectionist.
I'm not the only person who realizes that the world is running out of food. The inventories of food are the lowest they've been in several decades. Agriculture in China was ruined by Mao Zedong, and I mean, they're now trying to revive agriculture. They've got 1.3 billion people to feed and clothe every day, and yes, they're also trying to buy up farmland around the world. They're smart people. I'm trying to buy up farmland around the world, and let's hope we're right. Many governments are now.
Farmland, you're talking basically grass. That's the cheapest form of dirt you can buy when there hasn't been any value added to it. It could continue being farmland. It could become high-yield farmland. You could turn it into anything you want, basically. I mean, depending, I guess, on the soil and the conditions. So this is about as basic an investment as you can get. But where is it? Where is there more potential for this kind of land?
Well, potential is dependent on price and the land as well. I mean, there's a lot of good land in the world, but it's pretty expensive land. There's also a lot of bad land in the world that's cheap. I used to think land was land. You just went out there and planted tomatoes. It doesn't work that way. Some land is rich and got lots of productive capacity, some doesn't. Brazil, Canada still has extremely productive farmland, and much of it has not been exploited yet. I'm not a good farmer. I don't know if I'm a good farmer. I presume I'm not. I've never been a farmer. So I wouldn't suggest people do anything unless they know what they're doing, or unless they're willing to sit and learn. I don't think you just go out there and throw a few seeds into the ground and suddenly you have a big corn crop. It's harder than that. So don't do anything unless you know what you're doing or can learn.
Your bullishness on China is, one part of it is because it is just, it has an insatiable appetite for commodities, and you're big on commodities as well. The agricultural land part, I mean, if there's one thing that China is lacking in addition to water, of course, usable water, it's also arable land. Are you one of those investors, though, that plays China only on, or if there are certain conditions in place are being met? Are you concerned about things like their human rights record, the way they treat labor? Does that, I mean, do you look at that at all, or are you purely looking at the numbers?
I'm concerned about everything wherever I invest. One has to be, you know. America suddenly went to war with Iraq, which 10 years ago, who would have thought it? No, you have to look out for any possibility, and it may or may not be good for the economy or the companies that you're looking at. As to China's, quote, human rights, when I first went to China in 1984, there was one radio, one TV, one newspaper, one everything. Now there are dozens of media outlets. The internet is everywhere. You have more demonstrations in China now than you do in America. I mean, you have people in the streets demonstrating all the time for things that they think that they are owed or that they are demanding. So it's certainly changed dramatically. It is opening up a lot, and it's becoming more and more of a democratic or a free society, certainly in the last 25 years, and I suspect the next 25 years will be the same. If you look at Taiwan, it happened there. If you look at South Korea, it happened there. You know, this has happened throughout Asia, that countries, as they become more prosperous, they open up.